going to help you on something that I can sense.
Okay.
You will be in a totally different place if you leave your ideology at the door.
Okay.
There's unlimited people that are willing to work hard in Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
But if you decided that they're all entitled or nobody wants to be a cook, then you're dead because you're spending energy on that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how you and I came up. It was a different world. You and I would have not come up this way if we had this world. And guess what?
Yeah.
Our great-grandparents came up harder than us.
Of course.
So I don't want to hear fucking 2023 bosses crying about, well, 20 years ago we had it. It's over. Charge more, change it up, pay your cooks more, which then pass on the cost to me. Let me pay 25 cents more for an orange juice and let me spend an extra $2 on steak. Like, it's just real life. Pass on the cost to the fucking consumer.
Yeah.
Everybody in New York wanted the Uber drivers to get, more money. Cool. Let me just tell you what's happening. All the Uber deliveries are way more expensive for food.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
It's not like it's going to I love when people are like, yeah, stick it to the business. It's better. Cool. As a consumer, let me tell you what happened. You're going to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think you've got a lot of moves, brother. But I think the number one move you need to start with is don't give a fuck. It is what it is. How many cooks do you need? Real talk.
No, I need probably 11.
Good. I promise. Where do you live?
Miami, Florida.
I promise on my fucking everything that you can find 11 cooks. You just need to go ham with content, Indeed, LinkedIn. You just need to hustle.
Yeah, it's just different, you hire. I'm sure you hire. It's just the mindset is so different that it's
you're emotional. You're emotional. It's different 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Somebody just immigrated to Miami just now, just this second, who will fucking rip their arm off to be a cook for you.
I agree with that.
Okay, so instead of crying, dwelling, spending your energy being like, fuck, like every minute that you spend talking to your buddy or another guy or gal who owns a restaurant, be like, fucking shit. Every second could be a second of you making content on the internet or hanging up signs in lower income areas to pull you on your work ethic needs to up.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Right? I love how you took that. Like, that's on us.
What is your view of the labor force mentality post-COVID? That's the first part.
Well, Joaquin, I think most people's work ethic has been altered by the fact that we work at home at a high percentage, which creates a lot of opportunity to hide if one wants to. The government sent checks to everybody, so people got used to, wait a minute, like, I can get paid to stay at home. You have an entire generation of Gen X, millennials and Z who grew up in a different era and different eras, so they have different mindsets. And then within generations, you have very different people, so you can't generalize. But overall, I think that we haven't flushed out the economic pain of printing so much money during COVID. And so we're in this weird place where half the workforce is entitled and half the workforce realizes that they have an opportunity to gain market share by working hard. And it's a real mix, and everyone's situation is different. But if I'm talking net workforce, it's a little tricky right now, and we're going to feel pain from that because businesses are not as efficient. There's plenty of people that work their ass off from home, but there's enough that don't, that the efficiencies of businesses and what they're paying for are down. And so we're in an interesting spot. Like we're in a shit hits the fan moment in 24, 25, 26, where we're going to have to reset. And so, I think it's a wild mix,
Yeah, I do agree. My businesses aren't really work from home type. I'm in the hospitality industry. Yep. So for me, I need bodies. I need cooks, I need servers, I need baristas.
Yeah. And as you know, not only has that mentality shifted, a lot of these cooks and servers now know how to make more money online. So it's not just the missteps of the governments around the world of printing more money during COVID and not letting people live within their means, because all those think about the reason we're having all this fluctuation is we sent all this money to people and they went out and bought Dom Perignon and Chanel, not food and electricity. And so, but also let's not be confused. in the hospitality business, there's a lot of people that have figured out how to make more money online, flipping stuff on eBay or becoming influencers and creators that make them more than 20 bucks an hour, 15 bucks an hour, 12 bucks an hour, 25 bucks an hour. And so, you know, as they have more options, they're going to choose those options. And so this is the macro trend.
Yeah, I totally agree. When I you know, I ask always, you know, in the interview, you know, tell me a little about yourself, and the majority of the, you know, the barista age demographic, they want to be influencers and they want to be YouTubers, and you know, and so it's super hard for restaurants.
There's a way for you to flip it though. Why don't you start hiring and put a help wanted sign that says help wanted influencer creator / barista? Then people come in and they're like, what the fuck is that? And you're like, listen, while you're at the stand, you know, the hostess, while you're working your 9 to 5, you can use my restaurant as your content studio. You know, most employers are like, get off your fucking phone. You could flip it and be like, hey, you've got this whole restaurant as your production facility. You're gonna get paid. And as long as you're taking care of my customers and doing what I need to do operational, every time there's downtime, make fucking content. Maybe tag the location. Go ahead.
That's the balance, is like, I think we've lost a lot of work ethic. I agree with that, because we do that already.
That's an ideology. This is shit I talked to my dad about with Wine Library. Yeah. That's an ideology. Everything I said is true, but I'm not emotional about it. I don't need people to work hard. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what my feelings are about how much money we gave people, or why they have better options, or that we've lost work ethic, or Gen Z is into, I don't give a fuck. I'm a fucking businessman. So what I'm gonna deal with is the reality of the situation. And if I have to change the way I operate my fucking restaurant, my dad's liquor store, I'm opening a restaurant in a month in New York City with VCR group called Little Maven in Midtown. And a couple months later, we're opening up the Fly Fish Club. I've got tons of restaurants in my world coming, right? And what I'm telling my partners who are operating is leave your old ideologies at the fucking desk, because it's a new world. And if it's also practical. You know this, brother. I don't want the hostess or host, or I don't want the barista, or I don't want the waiter to be making content while you are sitting there frustrated. But when there's downtime, like if we have a lull, if there's a mid-afternoon lull, it's better that they're making content for you.
I agree with that.
Hope that they go viral and quit, because then you can use them as an example for the next person. I would have them in the fucking, I would be like at Sally Pants 49, be like Barista Bitch 16, be like Barista Boy 9. I would put them in my fucking job description to get people excited that they found a boss and an environment to make content that allows them to go live their dream. Here's the part that I have that is I've figured out is a magic. No expectation of others. I do great by him. I do great by him. I do great by him. I eat his shit. I do great. I do great. I do great. Then he goes, does something good happens. He can help me, and he doesn't. For some weird reason, I don't give a fuck. And so many people get crippled. So many people do very little and expect. Like, do you know most people give with expectation?
Yes.
The fuck am I getting out of this?
Nothing. Thank you for doing this.
I mean, this is your first fucking show. 9 people are gonna watch.
That's right.
But now,
maybe less.
You're gonna have, do you know what your guests are gonna look like now? You're gonna go and fucking say, Gary Vaynerchuk was my first fucking guest. You're gonna get 10 times the quality guests you would have gotten. You're gonna get guest number 4 of this show is the quality of the guest that would have been guest 147 just by me allocating these 15 minutes.
And that's, again, an example of giving without expecting in return.
That's right. And if you go on to become Larry King, and I need to promote some shit in 21 years.
Well, you know who has you.
Or not, and this is the key. That'd be great, and I hope so, and surely I think about that. But if you said no through your booker, I would never say, I would say to the Tyler, I would say to my admin, I would say, that's some shit. I'd be like, fucking motherfucker, like, you know? But I would never be, that would be, the extent of it would be like, that fucking kid would be nowhere if I didn't do the first fucking, which I wouldn't believe, by the way, because if somebody gets somewhere, you might have been part of their path, but I don't, you know? Maybe I accelerated it, but we all accelerate each other. Maybe I wouldn't be where I was if Justin didn't make a video. Like, there's a million what ifs. Here's what I would say. For some reason, after about a minute of being like, fuck that kid, I hope his show gets canceled, you know, like competitive shit, I'd be like, Maybe he's in a bad place, maybe he's going through a divorce, maybe he forgot, maybe he thinks about it differently than I did. I have empathy, man. Empathy is a powerful drug. If you want to be upset about the world, good news. Turn on the television, open your phone and go on social media and you will be upset 24/7. On the flip side, if you want to be happy and optimistic, good news. Turn on the fucking television and take out your phone and you could be really optimistic and happy. You're deciding what you're looking at, not the algorithm. TikTok and Facebook isn't fucking you up, you're fucking you up. And so I'm very passionate about that. Dustin, can you come up here? Everyone, this is Dustin.
Dustin, what's up, buddy?
I'm gonna use Dustin to answer this question. Dustin.
Yes.
How long have you worked with me?
Almost 5 years.
5 years ago, would you consider yourself an optimist?
No.
What would you consider yourself?
I would call myself a realist, but you would say a pessimist.
Good. Do you believe in the last 5 years that you've moved somewhat?
Yes, definitely.
Would you say you're as optimistic as me?
No.
Would you say you are more optimistic than you were 5 years ago?
Definitely.
Give us something to quantify that by, a number, a percent. Give me something for the audience.
80%?
80% more optimistic.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
That's awesome, but that's kind of deflating for me because he's such a natural optimist, and I'm not.
Yes, some people are more naturally gifted. Some people in this room were born with a fucking chest. It's just the way it is. But can every person make strides in a direction of being better at anything? The answer is yes. I think it's cool to get better at basketball. I think it's cool to get better at singing. I think it's cool to get better at skiing. I think it's cool to get better at cooking. But all of that shit is dog shit compared to getting better at being optimistic and happy versus pessimistic and sad. And so watching people like Dustin, watching basically every person I've been around since I was 6 years old, if they spend enough time with me or people that look like me, watching my own father be wildly affected by his 14, 16, 18, 20-year-old son and move from deep pessimism to a neutral or 80% better has been one of the great joys of my life. And so what I used to do for people around me and now I do at scale, it's very enjoyable. It's the best feeling on earth. Nothing feels better than making someone's life better. There's a million ways to do it, but I believe changing someone's perspective because it is completely moldable. A perspective is completely moldable. Changing someone's perspective to realizing, and it's funny, I can't believe Dustin went there, and he knows this, maybe subconsciously he went there. He knows, because he films me a lot like D-Rock used to. People say to me all the time, Gary, you don't get it, I just keep it real. I'm like, real fucking negative. You don't keep it real. What's real? You decide shit's broken, I decide it's good. Who's keeping it real? Keeping it real is bullshit. There's no realism, there is no real. Life is how you see it.
How do you be the bigger person without rewarding bad behavior?
By delivering candor. You know, being the bigger person doesn't mean look the other way. Being the bigger person is having the capacity to not counter bad behavior with more bad behavior.
Yeah.
Good behavior is empathy and candor. Bad behavior is someone does something evil to you and you spend all your time trying to be evil to them. Someone does something disrespectful to you and you want to be disrespectful to them. Someone does something to you and you're spiteful and try to get them back. So being the bigger person is not being complacent and looking the other way and burying it and building resentment or being a pushover. This goes back to nice guys finish last. They don't finish last, they finished first, because what's happening in this scenario is when someone is doing quote unquote bad behavior, and not your subjective bad behavior because you're selfish about something. No, we survey all the thousands of people that are watching this right now and ask people, you know, what they think, you know, and they all agree with you. That bad behavior, that requires, I saw somebody put radical candor. I think it requires kind candor. You know, empathetic, sympathetic, compassionate, like you're not in a good place. And we are here to try to address that, and so, to me, being the bigger person is having the mental and emotional strength to go above the other person's behavior, but also being able to protect yourself. So for me, being the bigger person is, I'm going to try to give. I'd love to do the right thing here, but there is always a tipping point. There's always a time to fire, to cut out, to break up. But the key is not being triggered in return. I promise you, for all the people that are watching right now, if you counter bad behavior with bad behavior, you're not in a great place. You yourself are not in a great place. And I know this to be true. This is perfect timing. My New York Jets are having a devastating season. And at Jet games, I'm incapable of the things I'm speaking about here because I'm in a bad place. I'm in full tilt. I'm frustrated. I have 40 years of unhappiness. And in that mindset, in that perspective, I'm the worst version of myself. And I'm not kidding about this. I think people are tongue-in-cheek, think I'm being tongue-in-cheek. I am able to understand frustration, losing, unhappiness, not feeling in control, all the emotions that people feel about politics, feel about relationships, feel about bosses, feel about work, feel about governments. The only place I'm able to feel that is being a sports fan of a specific team. And so I'm aware of what it feels like to not have the capacity to be the bigger person or put things in perspective. And I know it, for me, I'm very happy that the one place that I don't have that emotional control is something as silly as an American football game. But people bring that same energy to real life. And that's something I like talking about, and that's the answer to your question. Do not confuse being the bigger person with complacency and enablement of bad behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
Are you willing to go further? What are you dealing with right now in this exact scenario, or is it a little too private at this point?
No, that's fine. Probably a few different aspects of my life. I think with friends, that's probably where it gets more personal.
Yeah, I mean, with friends, and this is someone who struggled with candor his whole career and life, it's about telling them. And by the way, I had a conversation this weekend with a friend about it. I've been able to really build. This weekend, I told one of my friends, ironically, at the Jets game, about something that happened the prior week. And it's huge. I wasn't able to 7 years ago deliver with calmness and kindness, candor. I would just let it sit.
Yeah.
And that, to your point, that would enable more bad behavior, which led to resentment, which would lead to fraction, right?
Yeah.
You can deliver the news and you can do it nicely.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, be prepared for them to counter because they're not ready to hear that with more venom. And then you got to be even nicer, being the bigger person.
Yeah, I think that's where
I understand, Sarah, that you're not ready to hear this. I love you.
Yeah.
But this one thing you do is hurting my feelings.
Yeah, I think that's where it gets a bit tricky.
I'm telling you, it's candor.
Okay.
But it's kind candor, Nicole.
Yeah.
Empathy.
Okay.
Understanding that there's a bigger thing happening there to why they're doing bad behavior, that their mom taught her that bad behavior, her dad, something in her real life. Maybe people become envious and jealous because they're hurt. Maybe you're in a good relationship and they're not. There's a million things out there.
I've been posting the same stuff. You were talking about posting the same crap that everyone else is posting. I feel like that's where I'm stuck because
post what you want. Post what you want.
Yeah.
What do you think's gonna happen?
I'm just worried that people won't take me seriously, that I'm not professional, that
Because you're talking about science?
But I mean, I post other things too, not just about the cancer journey,
As you should. I'm a real businessman and I post about all sorts of dumb shit. Garage sailing the Jets, toy, I don't give a fuck that people don't take me serious. I care about the results. I'm happy and successful.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're stuck in high school.
Okay.
So they don't take you serious. You give a shit. Let me look here. You give a fuck if Dustin doesn't take you serious or Jared B over here and backstage. You think you give actual fucks if he doesn't take you serious? That's not on you. That's on him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So okay. I've just been feeling so blocked. So this
You feel blocked because
Yeah.
everyone feels blocked when they overvalue other people's opinions over their own happiness. If you think entrepreneurship is cool, like being a rapper or a rock star or like the cool stuff, well, then you try to become one, which is amazing. The problem is entrepreneurship is not like school. Entrepreneurship is not like your parents. Entrepreneurship doesn't care about your feelings. Entrepreneurship is not fake. Entrepreneurship is not something you can easily like figure out, and the results you can't hide. When you get a bad grade, you can like blame the teacher, right? You can do stuff. When you work in government, like it's a machine. In corporate America, machine, you can hide. There's a reason sayings like success has 1,000,000 fathers, failure has none exist. There are many, 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 many fake environments in the world. But sports, you can't fake. Last night the Jets played, they lost.
You almost won it.
They almost won.
You did all right.
They did all right. Another game that happened to happen yesterday was the Dolphins got their face beat in. Sports, you know, the Dolphins can't wake up today and be like, oh, we did it. But you can do that in corporate. You can do that. It's fake in a lot of places on earth. Sports is not fake. The closest thing to sports is entrepreneurship. Your business either works or it doesn't. You either make money or you don't. It either stays alive or it goes out of business. And what I worry about is a lot of people who are not actual entrepreneurs, who are, you know, playing entrepreneur or not purebred. I want everyone to be an entrepreneur if they are one, but for a lot of people, they're a number 2, they're a number 4, they're a number 8, and that's amazing. You know, some people are stay-at-home dads, some people are a lawyer. Like we need everything, and that's amazing. I don't want people to be entrepreneurs. I want people to be self-aware to figure out what makes them happy and live that life. When we made entrepreneurship so cool, a lot of people went for it. The problem is, a lot of people have struggled with failing in front of everyone. You know, when you're not built for it, and then all of a sudden you go for it, and then it fails, that's failure in front of everyone. And the one reason that most people don't do entrepreneurship is they do fear failure. And I think a lot about fear and failure. I think one of the great things that happened to me was I did love sports, which meant I lost a lot. And then with school, I was losing so much in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade that by the time I was 14, I was used to losing. I would argue I loved losing. I think it's why I love being a Jets fan. I'm being serious. I'm being serious. As pissed as I was last night, there is a secret percentage of me that was like, good, you know, like, you know, and I think that is a characteristic of an entrepreneur, and that was a huge characteristic of mine. I think a lot about the kids that I see now that run away from playing something because they're scared to lose. For me, I was the reverse. I would play and play and play. I would cry. I cried a lot when I was a kid. If you want to know about me, I cried a lot at 9, 10, 11, 12. But I would just get up again and play, and get up again and play. And I think we've done a terrible job in our society on demonizing losing. When we give kids 8th place trophies, we confuse them. You understand? We start to tell them as parents, losing is bad, so we have, because they know. I promise all the parents in here, when your kid's 8 and they get an 8th place trophy, they know it's weird. And when we give them that trophy, we're telling them losing is so bad, we need to like coddle your feelings and we're gonna give you this bullshit trophy. And what ends up happening is it doesn't set them up for real life, because real life happens and it doesn't work that way.
Before we go to Nima, I want to ask you one question about failing. What's your biggest professional fail?
I could take the next, I passed on, you heard that I invested in Uber? In the second round. I passed on Uber twice. And I wrote, my first book I wrote was called Crush It. I acknowledged only my family and one random person, the founder of Uber, Travis, because he helped when I wrote the book. He was the person I sent it to, and he gave me great feedback, and I wanted to acknowledge him. We were real friends, and I keep a very small circle. I have a lot of acquaintances, but friends, small. He pitched it to me twice. the first time I passed, the second time he picked, it was in this like grove in San Francisco. I think I stopped going to San Francisco because I didn't want to drive by it. He pitched me emphatically, like, hey, I really want you in. And it's funny, it goes back to offense versus defense. I just bought my first meaningful apartment in Manhattan, and I was a little less cash rich than I was accustomed to. And I just didn't feel like I wanted to write that $25,000 or $50,000 check, which I could have. That $25,000 to $50,000 check, I left $400 million on the table.
All right, that is a fail. However, it's not a fail.
Well, I don't know how to fail, because my parents taught me how to save money.
Okay.
I don't bet the farm to go to zero. My failures are things I've left on the table. My failures are the things I didn't do that I should. When Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, bought a piece of VaynerMedia, he offered us, and me and my brother, instead of cash, he offered a piece of the Miami Dolphins. I, out of pure emotion, because it was a good business deal, because I hate the Dolphins with my entire heart, passed on that. Instead of the $25 million in cash that we got to put into a fund and maybe 10 more million in cash for me and AJ to split to take home, that 35 is probably 350 million. So I don't know, I've told you 2 stories that I've already left $700 million on the table. I can go on. This is the life of an entrepreneur. Like, honestly, I know what those numbers say. Honestly, I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, what the fuck? But I understand what it sounds like. But the reality is like, I'm not doing it for the money. I think that's the biggest reason we have so many fake entrepreneurs. I think the majority of them are doing it for the money. I think most people go into entrepreneurship or business to buy things that the business allowed them to buy. I just want to build businesses. I just want to play my game. And so I've made a ton of mistakes. But the one that I most regret is the one I've been most working on. I really struggled with candor in my professional career, which is wild, because as a public figure and as a personality, when I'm talking to the world, candor is my strength. But when I spoke to people individually that worked for me or that I cared about, I struggled with it. Because if I like you, telling you the truth that you're not doing well at something was a real struggle for me. And by the way, authentically, still is. But I've worked on it a lot the last 4 or 5 years, and I think it's really impacted my business in a very positive way. The thing I most regret are the people that I fired along the way who really weren't good at their jobs. But I never set them up to fix it because I couldn't tell them the truth, and then I would surprise them and just fire them. And it's a huge regret, and by far the biggest mistake of my career, and I'm proud that I'm working on it.
At what age would you say you really understood the word entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship wasn't a word. Like, when did I realize entrepreneurship? I don't know, 2006? Like, the word was businessman. There was no entrepreneurship. As a matter of fact, and this will land with people over 40, the only times I heard the word entrepreneur by the time I was 35 was I'd heard it randomly, and it usually meant the person was a loser, right? It meant that they were like making pretend to be a businessman. Like, I remember businessman was here and entrepreneur was here, and usually thought it was like someone using mommy and daddy's money to make pretend. It's actually now become that again. But when I was growing up, you rarely saw, I actually think Entrepreneur Magazine might have been the first time I even, going on a wine trip. I grew up in my dad's business, in the wine business. I actually remember maybe going to Napa in my early 20s and seeing Entrepreneur Magazine on the shelf, and I was like, I just thought I was a businessman. And so, you have to understand, again, there's no entrepreneur. When all the kids we just talked to, when I was their age, there was no businessman that you put on a pedestal. It's now popular culture. It's now cool. There was nothing cool about businessmen. The most entrepreneurial or most successful businessman when I was in high school was the fucking biggest nerd on earth. There was nothing you were aspiring to. It was like, you thought, it was just not this way. Today, it's and I think about this a lot. I think people don't, the one class I was solid at, and not got F's in was history. And I think about it, I use history a lot as a frame of reference for the future. So, 70 years ago, 60 years ago, a pilot and an astronaut was super famous in America. Like astronauts off the charts, and pilots were like, whoa, like athletes. In the 1950s, professional athletes took summer jobs or off-season jobs because they didn't get paid enough. Literally Yankees that won World Series would then go work in hardware stores in Hoboken because they were getting paid so little or less in comparison, and now they get paid, $70 million a year. And so I think, I think things change. And I think the entrepreneur really hit fever pitch 3, 4, 5 years ago. And I think about that a lot because I'm worried about that, to be honest. That's how Microsoft and Facebook and Tesla and Walmart and, Sam Walton literally was ringing up people at the register when he started Walmart.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's a lack of enjoyment of the early shit and mud process that actually fucks people up. They're not in love with their business. They're in love with what they think they're going to be able to buy for themselves from the business. This is why we have the greatest era of fake entrepreneurship right now, Diana.
Okay.
Like, what do I say to people that are in that phase? Enjoy it, because you'll look back on it as your favorite time. VaynerX is 2,000 people right now doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. And if I could get into a time machine and go back to Columbus Circle and be in Buddy Media's conference room with Dave Zang and Marcus Grzastick and AJ and Sam Taggart and just trying to figure it the fuck out with the dirt and no revenue, I would do it like this. That's because I love the game.
Yeah.
The problem is that most people don't love the game. They can't wait to hire, someone else. One of the reasons, Diana, that I attack love your business, not what it can buy from you, is, do you want to hear a secret about these people that you're talking to specifically?
Yeah.
All of them could hire somebody right now if they were willing to have less take-home money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that people haven't hired someone because they'd rather take home $100,000 and buy some dumb shit versus taking home $55,000 and not buy dumb shit and then hire someone so that they could take home $200,000 next year? They're not investing in their business. They're investing in their money that they can buy stuff. I'm telling you, Diana, this is the big issue.
Yeah.
People are not willing to enjoy the shit phase and stay in it longer. They're in such a rush for the glam of it.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm telling you, I see it every fucking day. They want the Ferrari so bad that they're willing to take too much money out of the business to buy the Ferrari to show everyone that they're successful, versus keeping the money in the business and hiring 2 more people. People don't have the mindset of, let me buy the Ferrari company instead of a Ferrari. It's just all short. It's all short. Most people can afford to hire someone sooner than they think. It's just that they don't have the humility to take less dollars. Earlier, I mentioned my father never paid me much. He didn't pay himself much either. The money went back into the business.
Yeah.
The business wasn't there for us to buy toys. We were there to feed the business.
Yeah.
I'm grossly underpaid at VaynerX. How about that? Right now, as I sit here with you right now. Why? Because I'd rather hire more people and open more offices. I'd rather open the Middle East and Africa in the next 2 years than have a couple more dollars to buy some fucking toy that means nothing.
Yeah, it's making those choices, isn't it?
Yeah, and then people are gonna be like, Gary, you don't get it. Fuck toys. I'm just trying to pay rent and I'm like, cool, good. But oh, by the way, you can always pay less rent. Do you need a 3-bedroom house with 2 living rooms and a dining room that you never use in a basement? Or do you it's just choices. Choices. And I think most people don't choose their business enough. You know why people pick you or why they want it. You know the things that people want or why they buy, yes?
Yeah.
Make content about that.
Yeah, it's people looking for specific things, like you wanna, like your 50th birthday, you want.
Right. So you need to make a video
bachelor party,
You need
bachelorette.
to make a video that's titled The Perfect Trip for Your 50th Birthday. And you need to speak, and then you need to maybe edit some visuals over it. Like, you need to become the guy who talks about the perfect blank, the perfect vacation, the 3 perfect places for a bachelor party if you make less than $70,000 a year. You need to go more specific.
Okay.
You need to think back to the 200, 300 conversations you had and why and what they were looking for. And now you need to make videos talking about that at scale. I need to see from you 100 videos in the next year of very specific scenarios. The perfect bachelorette party if you want to go outside the US. The perfect 30th birthday trip for someone who's wealthy.
Yeah, of course. People feel like they're super close. Like, it's a 2 hours and a half flight from Miami. It's 5 hour flight from New York, direct flight every day.
Content, brother.
It's easy.
If you don't want to make the same shit as everyone else, don't make the same shit as everyone else. The problem is people don't have the courage for it to not work at first.
Okay.
This is the theme of the show so far. People are getting fucked by the algorithm, not the way they think, where they're not getting as many views as they think they deserve based on their insecurity and ego. They're getting fucked by the algorithm because they're not making content that's business smart. They're trying to make content that they think will do well in social.
Yeah, because
doing well in social does not have a direct correlation to doing well in business. We've already touched on this twice.
Yeah, of course. And then if I have the time, another question I had is, in our industry, we have something that it's in financials. You're taking, in terms of margin, we manage a lot of money because we have to pay a lot of vendors, right?
Yeah,
of course.
I get it.
Also, we take care of everything. And it's always been a discussion, an internal discussion, and I've tried both ways, and I don't have the answer yet on whether we should charge or fee and then arrange for the client to pay to each of the vendors.
Well, I get it. You know this. Both can work. You've done both. Which one feels better?
Yeah, it becomes about sometimes with like doing the additional work doesn't bring us more margin, but it does bring a big upside for our client because he's just dealing with us, right?
So it sounds like if you're looking to build long term and have customer retention, then you're going to put out the dollars more often. If you're looking for a shorter term win, maybe you don't. I mean, both work in this business model. Yeah. I wouldn't overthink it. I would do whatever. You can change your mind as you already have. There's no answer to that one. They both work in that model.
Okay.
What you need to do is make content that's specific. There is no casting a wider net strategy anymore. The algorithms are finding your audience, so you should post it everywhere. But I don't care if you get 7 views on TikTok.
Thank you. I agree.
I'm not here. Almost everyone this morning, I made that sound for effect because I want everybody to pay attention. Almost everyone, mainly my team, so they clip this. Almost everyone, Tommy, right now is making content for the algorithm, not the business outcome. Too many people. Now, if the business outcome is brand, then I understand the algorithm. But I think people don't understand the right eyeballs. I don't care how many people watch this show. I want the right people to watch this show.
Thank you.
And I'm casting a wide net here. I'm looking for 1 billion people. You're looking at the 1% of 1%. 3 to 5% that I said earlier is consideration. 1 of 1% is actual transaction in your world.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's kind of what I keep pushing back on the social media experts.
Don't listen to the social media experts. Listen to the actual social media expert. And that's not even me. That's yourself knowing if you know your business.
I appreciate that.
And you put in hours of learning what I talk about or people out there that know, then you're really the actual expert. Like, it's not about how many followers you get. It's not about even how many impressions you get. It's how many impressions that matter to what you want. You get. And the more narrow you go with your content, the less views you'll get, but the more narrow the audience will become. And that's actually what you want in your business. So I would post it everywhere and I would do best practices. You might as well have the right thumbnail. You might as well have the right copy. You might as well post at the right time. but you can't have vanity metrics drive your strategy.